Hello, SuperCoach fans and inner Sanctum SuperCoach fans. Welcome to our look back at round, I don't even know, 17 probably. It's draw a long season and into round 18. I can't believe there's still 7 games of football to go. We're at round 17. But anyway, just joined by Dan and Mick this week. How you doing, boys? Dan, how'd your side go this week?
My side was pretty miserable. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. I had to cop a zero, so it was only 2-3-8-6 with that zero in the end. So that was where I sort of sat this weekend.
Fair enough. Mick, how'd you go, mate?
Pretty similar, 23-21 with a donut on the field. The Wardlaw laid out cost me, and I didn't want to burn a trade and bring in just another subpar 400k player. So 23-21, not good enough to get a league win, unfortunately. Oh, actually, I think I got one out of the four, but it was one I don't really care about. So anyway.
Well, I won't tell you my score. We'll move on. Let's get to our. That's how bad it was. Let's get to our traditional Garys and Nathans, the stars of our side, and the ones that didn't maybe perform as well. We might start with you, Mick. Who you got for us from your side from last week?
Yeah, a bit disappointing from my boy Tommy Liberatore this week. Only a 75, so I think I'll. It's probably a bit unfair to put the Nathan on him because he's been super consistent.
Yeah, agreed.
Since I brought him in.
He's been
so.
Huge.
Yeah, these guys are allowed to have a bit of a one-off floor match, I suppose. We'll allow it. And my Gary is this fella, Luke Ryan from the Freo Dockers. He had a go again. The computer freezing on me. A 168. So really impressive from Lukey Ryan. And probably the only thing that stopped me from losing by a whole lot more, I think, in a couple of leagues. So that's my two.
Nice one, Dan. What about you, mate? Who you got for us this week?
Look, I had a few that scored pretty well, and a few that put in probably their best game in a few rounds. In Sam Walsh finally got above 110, which was really great to see. But I'm going to go with Darcy Parish as my Gary. I brought him in this week. He was my Moneyball decision, who was about 100,000 less than Zach Merritt, who was the other option. I think he scored about 20 points less than Zach, but I still took it. I thought that was good enough. And I can't go past this guy for my Nathan. He's the reason why I got a donut, and that is Brett Ratton for starting Jack Zeeble as the sub. In the end, Zeeble ended up coming on the ground because Griffin Lowe did his ACL, was gone for the year, but he did it within the first quarter. But started Zeeble as the sub, and then Wardlaw laid out, so I was already cooked. And so I think we've been talking about it a little while that Oliver had to get the boot if he wasn't playing, and I couldn't even ditch him because I had to get rid of Zeeble to plug the defense, and then Wardlaw is out. So cop the zero in the midfield. Thanks, Rats.
Nice one. Well, I had Luke Ryan as well. He's about my only bloke that scored pretty well. I think Rowan Marshall, hats off to him as well. He pulled that up close to a 150. So either of those my Garys in what was a very woeful weekend for me. But I had this bloke last week because he just was down a bit and got himself 80 odd. This week I have never seen it. He did so badly that when I googled Josh Kelly, I decided to go with the actor Josh Kelly, not the footballer, because he doesn't even deserve to be in my background. When does a premium? I can't think of a premium playing a full game ever in SuperCoach and scoring 23. You'd have to go a long way
Josh Kelly? What's it look like?
That guy, I don't know. I just googled Josh Kelly and I got the footballer, and he's an American soap actor. So you know what?
Okay.
Let's get this guy give this guy a bit of airtime, and the Josh Kelly.
Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, that's it. Josh Kelly, the footballer, 23 does not get you a spot on the screen, mate. I can't. You ever heard of a premium getting 23 for a full game?
No.
Exactly right. He was tagged by, is it Finn McGuinness maybe? But really, 23 points. Blokes come on as the sub with 10 minutes to go and score 25. So, I lost a couple of leagues by 100, and I just would have him score 120 instead of 20. But anyway, Josh Kelly, not you, the actor, the other one, definitely my Nathan. Well, we thought we'd talk about a couple of things tonight. We just thought we might talk about the updated dual position players heading into the last 7 rounds. It doesn't really affect it from looking at the list, and I'll reel off for some in a minute. It doesn't really affect, I don't think, who you're going to want to bring in that you mightn't have in the past, but it might just mean a couple of moves can be made. The first one is Nick Dacos down. He's gone from defence to defensive mid. Does that change anything for you at all?
No, he's the number 1 rated defender, and midfielders generally score better than defenders. So it doesn't make any sense to me why you wouldn't move him out. I can't really see any super exciting options down back to fill out that back 6 that are cheaper in price than a midfielder that might be down on his luck. So no, I won't be moving him to midfield.
Yeah, well, another one that a lot of people might have is if you might have Jaden Short, who's also gone from defence, I think, only to defence/mid, or the other way around. That's how much I know. That change anything for you, Mick? Consider him at all now, his dual position?
No, I've always rated Shorty as a good SuperCoach player, but no, not this year. He just hasn't been scoring consistently enough to get into my team. But back onto Dacos, though, interesting. I totally agree with Dan. I won't be bringing him into my midfield as a permanent player, but I've got a couple of non-playing, just constant donuts like Cam Constable's one just sitting there on that bench in my midfield bench. So if I do have a player that's laid out from my midfield, I could switch Dacos into the midfield, move that other player back, because I do have a little bit of bench cover in my back line, but I don't in my midfield. So that might just provide a little bit of extra flexibility, but it's going to be a fairly rare scenario that I would use that. But it's good to have it up the sleeve just in case,
Yeah, I reckon that's about the only way as well that Dacos will be moving. I've got the Pelican, who sits there on the bench every week in defence. So if he happens to score all right, then maybe Dacos pushes in the midfield for a week, gets a few more touches in the midfield for my side, and the Pelican can get his score. Another one is Jack Sinclair. He's gone to dual position as well. Again, probably similar boat, Dan. Not worth any thinking about, really?
Not if you've already got him. But at 580, average of about 104. Again, it's that sort of line ball call. I don't know, just looking at how many sort of defenders are available that are around that price that are in the similar sort of scoring position, given that Sicily's still out for I think another one week or something.
He's back
there's not really many.
Back this week, I think.
Yeah, is he back?
Back this week.
But he's what is he? 630 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, it's high, yeah.
660. So almost 80k more. He's not a bad option if you don't have him. Look at getting him. He only scored 96 on the weekend, but he's a proven scorer and he has scored some massive scores. But again, if you had him in your back line and you did D6, why would you bring him into midfield? It doesn't really make any sense. Well, I think Shorts, I thought he did a hammy and he's like a bad hammy and he's gone for like 6 weeks. So
that shows you how much we have paid attention to Richmond on this podcast, mate. So
and rightly so.
Exactly right. Some other ones. Sam Doherty's now dual position. I'll reel off some other names for you. I just have to read off the list because who would remember these? Devon Robertson, Angus Brayshaw, Marlon Pickett, Callum Brown from the Giants, Mark O'Connor, Harry Perriman. A couple of missed out. Sam Walsh and Max Gawn just missed out again. So there might have been a couple that helped us out. But obviously, I wouldn't spend too much time looking over that list if I was a keen SuperCoach person. Any last thoughts on the dual positions, guys?
No, a bit late to be worrying about that. I think if your team's not set by now, then you probably got more troubles than than most of us have. I think.
Exactly. I think a couple of those that people have, like we said, if you want to bring Dacos into the mids for a week, you obviously need a bloke to be able to push back. So maybe have a look at that. Just in the off chance when you run out of trades heading into finals, that might be needed as a last resort. One other thing we thought we might talk about as well, given people are running low on trades and struggling to fill their sides, is we're going to give you one diamond in the rough each. And we've been doing this a bit with fallen primos and blokes who are 550 plus still. today, whenever you're listening to this, we're going to give you someone between 200 and 400,000. The ultimate pod, not owned by many, and is just going to star the next 7 weeks. Mick, I'm going to start with you. Give us one. And I promise you that my side is that bad. One of these three is coming into my side this week. I don't care. So convince me, if no one else.
This is really out of left field. And talk about a fallen primo. Travis Boak last year averaged 110 over 115, I think it was. Was priced at 580 at the start of this year. You now pick him up for 371k, and obviously there's a reason for that. His scoring this year has been pretty abysmal. He's averaged 69.6 for the year, but he has pumped out a couple of really good tons. Like in round 7 against the Saints, he had a 131. Round 13 against the Doggies, he had 111. He's come off a 78-point round against Gold Coast on the weekend. So, it might not be the worst option out there for a guy who is a known, 100-a-week scorer in the past. He might come home with a wet sail at the end of the season. You don't know. And you can pick him up for 371. So maybe worth a shout.
I reckon that I heard a couple of Port mates of mine talking that the few Port players are looking a bit sore. They're up in the top 2. They might rest Bogey for 1 week, but then they might also rest a couple of those others in the midfield and chuck him in there. So you never know. Boak.
Never know.
Let's see how he goes. Dan, who you got for us?
All right. Can I just start off with the bunch of Carters that are between 250 and 400,000 in the playing list? It's pretty slim pickings. Just while we were doing a bit of research, just where is Shield at? Like, he came on as sub on the weekend.
On a sub
I don't really
after
know where.
Whitney off in the third quarter, yeah. Didn't really have much of an impact either. I'm surprised if he scored 30, to be honest.
He didn't. He scored 8 points, and he's down 240,000 or something on his starting price. Look, I was going to go. I know that we were talking about it before, Scott, putting games into the young kids, and Archie Perkins was the one that I floated. But, I'm going to float a realistic one. So Tristan Perry, ruck for North. He played pretty well in the first few games. He did. He played pretty well in the first game that he played. He got injured like half time or something. He was already on about like 40 points or something like that. He scored 102 on the weekend. So he's only played the 2 games. He's only 393k. He could actually slot into a midfield, into a ruck position if you had a ruck that's not doing anything, like a Gawn or a Grundy, or potentially a ruck forward where you could move them out and bring him into the ruck position. Might be one to float as a possibility, but there are some really bad stinkers in this lot of this price range of players.
That's probably why they're priced where they are. Geez, we're choosing between Boak and Tristan Sherry, whatever his name is so far. All right, my bloke. All right, a bit of a guessing game for you. In round 15, he had the most possessions on the ground, 32. Round 16, he followed up with, it was a loss, but he had the second most with 33. Last week, only 20. All right, he's 371k. But his last 3 weeks, 103, 102, 75. The one before that, 80. I've watched a couple of his games of late, getting a heap more of the ball, and there's Liam Henry. Frio wingman. Just, there's a left field one. If you're struggling for cash, if you look at his first 4 weeks, he stunk it up, didn't get a game for 9 weeks, and he's been back for 5 games. The first one was a bit no good, but the last 4 been very impressive, getting a heap of the ball. No contested footy, so he's not going to score more than about 100. But if you just leave him floating on the wing, then, he could rack him up. The Frio's got 4 of their last 7 over in Perth. They play the Eagles when you'll be playing finals. He'll get 500 points then like everyone does. They finish with Hawthorn. If I haven't convinced you to get Liam Henry, I nearly said Liam Ryan, Liam Henry, then that's
and they only play Collingwood at the G this week, so it's he could score really well.
The G has big wings. He's played them only once and he scored 80, so he's got good form against them. He'll want to perform. Freo very good at the G as well. So yes, you were right. It is slim pickings between 250 and 400k. But everyone out there, you're struggling to fill your side. Pick one of those three. We guarantee. In fact, this week's competition. This time next week when we chat, whoever's one of our three players scores the highest wins. I don't know, a prize, but Minnie can shout a surprise. Mike can shout a surprise. He's not here. So yes, any others we want to bring up?
Do a shout out. We were talking about Jared Lyons, but he probably loses his spot when Dunkley comes back in. He's got 114 in his first game this year, where he was purely playing like big midfield minutes. And then there's a whole bunch of guys that just played their game of their life. Levi Casbolt, 300,000, scored 100 points. He was the game's highest goal scorer with 4 goals or something. He's never kicked 4 straight in his life. I don't know how he managed to do that. There's a real mixed bag of players. I think the player that sits there in that bracket with the highest 3-round average is Sam Flanders, who scored 96 on the weekend, priced at 370k. He scored a big 140 or something a couple of weeks ago. And the best 5-round average is to Todd Marshall with 94 points for the weekend. So there's just really not a heap going around at that price range.
Yeah, so I think we'll you can but like we said, we might want to just try and fill our side with a bit of uniqueness. Haven't got the money to get the bonds anymore. Liam Henry, similar scale. See how you go. Boak, proven match winner. Tristan Cherry, proven Goldstein spot taker. Who knows? I think we've talked enough about these guys. The more SuperCoach airtime they've ever had in their lives, these guys. Last thing for the week, let's look at head to round 18. Captain choices, vice captain choices. Mick, we'll kick it off with you. Who are you thinking?
Yeah, you can't really probably go wrong with Thursday night's game. Bont into, I think maybe. It's hard to say, really, isn't it? I think Adelaide against GWS on the Saturday night, they should have some pretty good scoring players there. Laird didn't score massively on the league. He's at 117, so that's not bad. Dawson had a 127, so another probably solid captain choice in one of those two. So I think Bont into Laird will be a fairly solid kind of choice, I think, this weekend.
Anything different from you, Dan?
I agree with the Bont. We've got obviously Brisbane, Melbourne on that Friday night. So any Petrarca owners or Lockie Neal might want to throw a bit of a VC on that. And then, as we're sort of saying, you've got some really high averaging players coming in later on. You might be tempted to chuck a late captain if things aren't going your way on maybe Timmy Taranto, 84 last week. It's he very rarely plays 2 games under 110 in a row. So to get 84 there,
I think he has
seen pushing up. And has he done 2 games in a row?
So. I feel like he's let me down twice in a row.
No, he has. 72 and 84. So he doesn't do 3. He doesn't do 3 bad games in a row. And actually, the stats have backed that up. He doesn't play 3 bad games in a row. So it's against West Coast. It's Sunday night. If you've got absolutely nothing going for you and you're looking at it going, I need to pull out an extra 30, 40, 50 points, what's the harm? He might be able to pull out a big 150, 160 against West Coast Eagles, witches hats.
Yeah, well, I think my dislike for Collingwood means I rarely pick Dacos for the captain. I often do him as the vice captain, but I think his form at the moment and his scorings, you almost got to include him in one of them. It's probably going to be the captain given the good stuff that's to come the Thursday and the Friday, given they're the first game on the Saturday. But I might just do something a bit different and throw the VC on him and wait and see and hope the others stink it up. That's where I'm sort of at the moment, hoping the good ones fail so I can capitalise there. There's some options for you guys out there. Dan, I would be remiss of me not to throw to your Rage Trade corner. I believe last week wasn't a rage trade. It was if I had this bloke, I would rage trade him, and that was Jack Steele, and he absolutely killed it. So
He smashed it.
Hey, this is now the rage trade plan. I absolutely slam a player and then I bring him in because I'm going to bring in Steele this week. I'm not even joking. I'm going to bring him in. He scored 140 off the back
Me
of
too.
back-to-back scores. Oh, look, he's coming in. He's the Moneyball player. He's priced at 474,000. He's only averaging 92.5. But tell you what, in his 150th game, he pulled out an absolute burler. So looking around my team, there's a couple of spots that I need to fill, and there's definitely one spot in either the forward line or the back line that I would like to fill with a player. And we're sort of talking about this idea of the money ball option, the player that is priced below but has pulled out some really good ones. So if I was going to be maybe giving it to one of those players, I might go for someone like we're talking about Jack Sinclair as maybe having an absolute stinker and his price going down, or Sicily coming in and his price going down. But I'm gonna have to actually turf someone, and this guy I've wanted to turf him for weeks. I just haven't been able to because the first time I think I missed it, and then it was like, oh, he was only going to be out for another 2 weeks, so I kept him. And then this week, bloody Brett Ratton, this guy here, put Zeeble sub, so I had to keep him another week. And that would be the absolute flop that is Clayton Oliver. I'm finally doing it. Finally, he's gone. He's finally gone. I wanted to do it for weeks. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I just couldn't manage it. So he's finally turfed. And at whatever price he is, I think he's like 670,000 or something. He's going to buy me about 2 premium players off the back of who sort of swapping out another sort of semi-dud. So it's actually going to work out for the better, I think. And tell you what, you'll probably end up playing. And so I don't know what's happening with this season. If I give it to Oliver and tell him he's crap and needs to wash his feet more often and needs to look after his hamstrings, and he plays this week, then you know what? That's worked out for me. It's one less trade that I have to spend. And maybe Wardlaw gets the turf instead. So anyway, we'll see.
He's out for 4 weeks, mate. He's not playing this week. You've been rage trading him for. This is the Clayton Oliver podcast, really. We talk about him every week. Next week, there is no Clayton Oliver discussion whatsoever. He's out. Get him out of your side so we don't have to talk about him ever again, please.
Yeah.
If he's named against Brisbane, then he keeps this spot.
He's not playing. He's
fine. He'll play.
Oh, dear. All right, on that note, boys, I think we're all good. Good luck to all the SuperCoach fans out there. Check out the Inner Sanctum's website for some awesome content, and we'll be back with you next week. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Josh Kelly, left my friend, left Josh.